Hi, sorry I missed you on the last segment, but I've been working hard trying to get some videos done. Well, I'm not working too hard, so don't worry about that. Having lots of fun. Again, I can't thank you enough for all of your support. You guys have been very good to me, and I really appreciate it. It's a wild ride, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. In this segment, we're going to work on the front zippered flap. So we're going to, most of it really is about installing the zippers. That's probably the biggest part of it. But we also have the gussets on the inside to put in and stuff like that. So it's going to really start taking shape. It's beautiful. I'm really enjoying it. It's a really lovely sew. I hope you all are really enjoying doing it as well. So having some fun with it, and it's this is it. This is about as difficult as it gets. We will get to some binding, and there will be maybe a little bit of a challenge there for some if you've never done it before. Don't be scared. We'll walk you through it. It's all going to be good. So again, thank you all for your support. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I appreciate that if you subscribe to my channel. You get all of the new videos as they come out. You get the updates and the notifications that there's new videos out. And also, I have a Facebook group. My group is called Friends of Debby Hunker, DebbyHunker. So I'd love to have you join me there as well. I have my Blue Cala Patterns link. If you go through that, it lets Celine know that you are purchasing the pattern through my videos. So appreciate that as well. And let's get at it. Thanks. So what I have going on is I have my zipper tape. So I buy this by the yard, and it is so much more economical. It's really quite amazing. So the supplies list calls for 2 8-inch zippers in number 3 or number 5. Again, I prefer number 5. That's my personal choice. They're a little bit heavier looking, and I like that. So that's what I use. And so it's either 2 8-inch zippers or 2 pieces of 10 inches each zipper tape. Now, I know for myself, in case I have some troubles, I need a little bit extra. So it's because it's so inexpensive, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to use 10.5 inches as my rough measurement. So I'm going to make 2 of these that are 10 inches long, and this is plastic tooth zipper, so I'm just cutting in between the plastic teeth. I'm not actually cutting the plastic, but so there I go. So there's one, and I'm going to go again 10.5, make sure that I've got enough, and cut in between. There I go. I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to need it again for making a double zipper. So again, if I can, I like to make my own double slide zippers as well. So the kind of, I guess the trick or the hard part is putting the sliders on your zipper. And they're really not that hard either. So what I do is, sorry, I know this, if I get too close to my camera, I think you can see better, but it actually goes a little bit fuzzy. So I'm going to open this up a little bit, and I'm going to take off about 1/4 inch. So this happens to be about 2 teeth. May have to do that open a little bit more. So I'm going to take my slider, and this is where you need 3 hands or 18 fingers or something to do this normally. We'll see how quickly it goes. It has taken me a while to kind of get everything where I can do it as well. So I'm going to put it on this side. So I've got one side started. It's not going to pull out unless I move it too much. And I'm going to take this other side. When I'm working on this, I kind of try and make sure that I'm even, so that I don't have so that I'm not like this, because then I'm going to end up with extra teeth. So I try as much as I can to line things up so that I'll be fairly even. And I push, oh, see, there's the extra fingers that I need. And it also is very easy just to do up the zipper again if you have to. I find if it's open just a little bit, it's a little easier to work with as opposed to having a whole bunch open. So the trick is being able to pull and push at the same time. And there's lots of tricks. There's using forks. There's all kinds of stuff. But it's a little harder for me because I'm trying to look both through the camera and at what I'm doing here. If I can get it started, then I kind of can grab onto things here. See, the struggle is real for me too. That's not going on right. So start again. That's why I give myself extra, in case I have to end up cutting it off. There we go. So I also already know, I can tell by looking at it that I'm even. So it's a little hard right now because technically I'm pushing it to do up a zipper that's already done up. So if I open this, it would slide a lot better. And once it's slid back and forth a couple of times, it does better as well. I don't want it open all the way. Like I want to leave this here because then I have both the top, well, both sides essentially are done up. They're both laying flat. The only place that I have any weirdness, I guess, is right where my pull is. So it's just on either side of that. But as I'm sewing, I'm not going to be sewing over this part. I'm going to move my slider so that I'm always on a nice smooth spot, because sewing over this is very, very easy. The difficulty comes in when you get around your sliders, and just move them out of the way. So I'm going to do that with both of mine, because I'm not quite enough of a glutton for punishment. I'm going to try this again, show you on camera me fighting with this, and maybe it'll go easier this time, I don't know. So I've got that on. I've got this one in. Oh, I'm going to not be lined up. There I go. Lots of times I can push with my finger here, and it's going to go. There we go. Wow, yay. That is more typical of how it goes for me. I don't usually struggle with it too much, but there I am. So all you have to remember is which way is the direction, so that you don't get your zippers upside down. So in this bag, for example, I want both of my zippers going upward. So I make sure when I'm sewing them in, that's more where I have to watch for that. So in the instructions for using zipper tape, it instructs to make a mark on your zipper tape 8 inches apart. So what I'm doing is I'm going 1/2 inch up, making my first mark, and then I'm going 8 inches up. Now I was really careful to move my sliders up to the top here without just zipping them right off. So inched along to do that. Normally I would leave everything closed like I was explaining earlier. Here we actually have to have them open for our next step. And I am going to just mark on here as well, just on the other sides. I should have done that both sides. Could have done, should have done. There we go. Okay. So now with my zipper tape, because I don't have stops like you do with regular zippers, I have to go at a 90-degree angle, and I'm just going to do a little basting stitch so that I can fold these over. If you're using prepared zippers, you're going to do the same thing, only this little angle piece is just going to be at the top of your prepared zippers. So, sorry, I should have had this together here. I'm just going to get some of my prepared zippers. You're going to do the same thing. These are smaller zippers, but you're still going to 90 these at the top where your zipper stop is. So there's the zipper stop, and just get that out of the way so that when you sew your seam, it will end. So that's all you're going to do there. Just mention this, I need to do opposite sides. So if it's the right side on this one, I need the left side on this one. And I'm just folding over at that line. So because the zippers are kind of opposite to each other, when we sew them in, that's why I need one side opposite to the other. So I have my zippers. I've got them just basted down so that those corners are there, and I'm going to set those aside for now. The next thing we're going to work on is the gussets. So I've got my mirror images. These I have to make sure that I have going the right way. There we go. Okay, so I have right sides together. I have those ones, and I have the smaller ones too that I'm going to do. And these I'm just going to stitch around. We're going to leave this open, but we're going to do the angles and the ends on all 4 pieces. So I have my 4 gusset pieces sewn together. Now I have chosen in my planning to do contrast. So this will match the outside of the bag. This will match the lining. And all I'm going to do now, actually it'll be easier to see my stitching from this side, is I'm going to go, and I'm going to do this with all of them. Again, just trim your corners and trim the bulk away. I'm going to do that with all of them. So I have all of my gussets put together, and I've got them trimmed. So now I'm going to turn them out, and I'm going to work at my corners. So I'm going to flip them over, just kind of do it kind of rough here. Rough as in not aggressive. Okay, now I'm going to use my little point turner here. Be really careful. We've trimmed away a lot of the seam allowance on the corners. So if you're aggressive with trying to turn these, you're going to end up poking right through your fabric. So that's where we want to be really careful. I'm just going to gently work at it. Until I'm happy with the point that I got. And sometimes you can just kind of wiggle it and loosen it off a little bit too. Again, don't want to be too aggressive, otherwise we're going to end up pulling our fabric through our stitching. There we go. I'm going to do that with all of them, and I'm going to press them, and then this is what I'm going to end up with. nice and crisp, nice corners, and away we go. So I have everything pressed. The next part of the instructions says to top stitch all the way around. Because I know what's coming, this is going to be my suggestion, is that we just top stitch along both of these edges for the moment and not do the long edge on all of them. So just do the top stitching all the way along on all 4 ends. So now, like I said, I've just top stitched. I just did it in black. It's not really important to me that you see it, so it's not really a decorative part of the bag, so I'm not worried about that. Now, if you decided to top stitch all the way around, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The reason I suggested not doing it is because we're going to be eventually we're going to be putting these together. I guess actually it's the opposite way around. These will be sewn together, and so there will be stitching on stitching, but either way it doesn't really matter. We're going to be working now with our front gussets, so the smaller pieces, and I'm just going to set the larger ones aside. So what we're going to do next now is we're going to take our front gussets, the small pieces, and we're going to sew them onto the front zipper flap. That is piece B. We're going to go 1 inch up from the bottom and place those on there. Now, again, because I did mine, I've got different sides. I want my what I call my good side, it's my outside. I want that facing up so that my 2 lining pieces are actually together, so they match. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to pin it, and I'm going to do a 1/8 inch seam allowance just to baste those down. If you're using prepared zippers, you're going to take your stop on the bottom here and you're going to align it with this bottom edge. So that's where you're with an 8-inch zipper, that's what you're going to do. So take this, align it with that bottom, and that's how you're going to sew it in. The top piece will be angled. One edge, again the proper edge, will be angled out. So that will be aligned at the top. Now going back to my use of zipper tape, and this is something that I want to make sure that I explain to you in this video. It's something that I had a little bit of problems when I was making this bag in getting that angle at the top of my zipper tape. I had some problems there, and then when I went to sew my zippers in, I didn't pay enough attention, and this is what happened. It's very, very slight, but I noticed it in my pictures. This zipper goes all the way up to the top, and this one is down slightly. So I'm only out about 1/4 inch, but to me it shows. It wouldn't have been worth at that, especially at that point, taking everything out. But it's fairly simple. All I have to do is pay a little bit of attention, or make sure that on this new bag that I actually allow for that, and double check to make sure that my zipper is going to be positioned properly. So what I did, now this is also to double check and make sure that my zipper is going to be positioned the way that I want it to be. I'm going to start at the bottom. I have my mark here, aligning that at the bottom. I'm going to put my zipper all the way up. Now I've made a little mark. Now right where this ends, right where I'll just take you in here further if I can. There we go. A little bit of an angle here, sorry about that. There we go. Now I've made a mark right here, and that's where my angle is. So straight across from my angle I've got a mark. Then I folded this in half and figured out where my mark was on my other side as well. So I know that I want both of my angles even with those marks, because those marks are directly across from each other. So once again, I'm just going to, the zippers need to be facing upwards, so our zipper pulls are facing up. Our angles are going out toward the outside, and we're going to be sewing the outside pieces on. So I'm going to pin or clip or whatever works for me here, and I'm going to put the first one on. Then I'm going to double check, make sure I'm aligned at the bottom. Where am I here? There we go. Aligned at the bottom, but also that when I pin this on, that I'm lined up with that mark. So that's going to give me just kind of another double check. So that's what I'm going to do. I have them all clipped, and I'm going to sew up each side with an 8-inch basting stitch for my seam allowance. So I've got my the lining portion of that front flap. I have my zippers, an 1/8-inch seam allowance holding both of those zippers in, and I'm going to set that aside for the moment. Now I'm going to work on the outside of that one. So this is my outside piece. I'm going to find center, so I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to mark my center, and I've marked my center on, this is the little thumb lock tab. So I'm going to make sure that I have, this is my top stitched part, the nicer side. This is the single thread on this side. And I'm going to line that up. I'm going to right sides together, and just going to line my marks up that way. And I'm going to make sure that it's nice and straight. And to make sure that that stays nice and straight on there, that we don't have any shifting, again, we're going to just do a little 1/8-inch basting stitch there. So now if I had any badging or anything like that, if I wanted to put any of the little pronged nameplates or the handcrafted or handmade or anything like that, now would be the time to do that on the front flap. So before we do any more assembling. I don't have any of that, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make sure that everything stays out of the way here, and I'm going to place this over top, and I'm going to clip it all together. Of course, when I move my clips around, they're never in the right place. So you're going to have a little bit of thickness up at the top here. So just remember, when you're sewing that, just give your machine a break. Just let it kind of work through that. Don't go zipping around that curve there. Same with around your zippers. If you have prepared zippers, then you don't have any of the teeth in the way, so you should be just fine. If you're using zipper tape, you have to get over the teeth, so, or the coil, or whatever, however it is that you're doing it. And I'm just going to keep clipping all the way around. And then I'm going to put my zipper foot on and get ready to sew my seam allowance. So here's another little trick. I'm using number 5 zippers, so I want a 3/8 seam allowance. So what I'm going to do, because zipper feet are a little harder, if you move your needle over, you're adjusting your seam allowance. So what I do is I put a mark. This is my 3/8 inch. And I line up my needle. However far I need my needle to move over on my foot, I figure out a reference point beside it. So that's what I do. I mark my 3/8, line my needle up with it, and then do and then I'll be sewing all the way around. So I'm going to just show you at my machine. I'm going to have to move you out of the way though, because I want to do a good job of this, and with the camera right in my face, you're right in my line of sight, exactly. So, and I can't use the camera to look through to sew this, but so here I have my 3/8 inch mark, and I think I'll be all right. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle down. If I run my zipper foot right up against my teeth, I'll be okay. I'm going to actually move this over just slightly because I have to be really close to that. And then I'm just going to move my needle over a little bit. I can see through my foot and see where my mark is. I'm a little bit farther away this time, and I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So I am going to back stitch at the beginning. Okay, now I just kind of have to move it out of the way here a little bit. I'm coming up to the point where I'm going to have to move my slider. So I'm going to lift my needle is going to stay down, but my foot is going to come up a little higher. I'm just going to slide this out of the way. There we go. So I've slid my slider out of the way, and now I'm pretty much free going. As long as I keep my foot up against my zipper, I can feel it. You probably can't see it. Now I'm going to be coming up to where I have to cross those teeth. Good, okay, and I'm smooth sailing. And again, here I go through my Peltex. I'm just gonna let it work a little bit. It's not having any problems. And I'm just going to finish this up. So I'm just going to tattle on myself here a little bit. And when I came around this, and I didn't notice it necessarily until I was done, my stitching here, I'm all wonky and then I come back in. Some of this isn't as bad as what it looks. It's just that it's going over humps and bumps and stuff. But right here, my stitching went kind of wild on me. Now, to me, there's no shame in fixing that. So I'm just going to go right ahead. Just do a couple little back stitches here, and I'm going to bring that in so that that is a little smoother. Now, if I had gone inside instead of to the outside and then tried to restitch, I would just restitch that straight and then pull out those stitches. So there you go. So now I've fixed that. Otherwise I'd have kind of a hump, or could have had kind of a hump there when I tried to turn it out and press it really nice. So that's just one of those things. Yep, I'm a perfectionist, and it shows. So I'm not going to apologize for that. So there we go. That's it for that, and I'm going to turn this inside out. Right side out. Yeah, right side out. There we go. So this is what my piece looks like right now. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to trim off my seam allowance, everything except for the top piece right up here. So I'm going to go and 1/8 of an inch. Going to pull out the big guns. Go around my teeth. And here again. These scissors are Kai scissors, Kai. They are just unbelievably beautiful scissors to cut with. They are super sharp, and it sure takes a lot of the hand pressure off. So there we go. So 1/8 inch seam allowance, all except for right at the top here. Now we're going to turn all of this out, and again we're going to be nice and careful and gentle. And I'm going to work at this a little bit. It's looking really nice. Going to get all of this, get my seams pressed really nice, and then I'm going to get ready again to top stitch. So I'm going to give this a good press. I'm going to be careful with my zippers. My zippers here are plastic. They can take a little bit of heat, but I don't want to be too hard on them and stuff to melt them. So now this is pressed. One of the things that I forgot to mention before I went to press is that the gussets here, we want those pressed to the inside away from the zipper. When we top stitch, we're gonna top stitch all the way around, and we're gonna end up top stitching these toward the inside of the bag. So we don't want them ever to get caught in the zippers. So we're gonna include it in this. When we top stitch this, the back of it, it'll hold it toward the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead now and top stitch all of this all the way around. So the pieces that we need now to continue on with the assembly of this front flap are zipper side panel H. So that's that kind of funny looking one, straight on one edge. It's kind of got a weird curve on the other. And there is an arrow saying this way up. So when I was doing my pattern pieces, I actually put arrows on everything. So all of my pieces, I know directional, because that is significant. What I want to do now is I want to take, I've divided mine up. I've figured out which one was which, because we've got one set of each mirror images. So I'm going to take my lining piece face up with my straight edge is going to be on the right. I'm going to take my zipper panel, or my zipper piece, and lay that over. We can line everything up after, but let's just get the orientation correct. So then I've got my outside piece with my arrow facing up on here. And so this is how all of this, we're going to clip all of this together, and then I'm going to sew. Same with on the other side. We're going to do it on both sides separately, of course. But I'm going to take this piece, the lining face up, set this over on top of it, and then my outside piece, everything, make sure your arrows are facing up. And then that's how both of those get assembled. So I'm just going to set this one aside for right now, and I'm going to get everything lined up here. So I'm lining up with my bottom edge. If you're not super comfortable with the zipper, then baste it on first. Baste it to your lining, and then you only have one layer to worry about. Now I'm going to unzip this about halfway. And everything lines up. The reason why I open my zipper up is so that I can come down quite a ways before I get to that the pull. Then I can zip it all the way up and finish the rest of it. So again, I'm going to be using my zipper foot. I'm going to mark my 3/8 inch seam allowance because I want them both the same. I'm going to line my needle up with that, and away I go. Okay, so I have this side sewn on, and I have it pressed. So that's what we've got, and I'm going to do the other side as well. Remember, now we've got our straight edges to the left. And I'm going to lay that over there. I'm going to open up this now. Actually, I'm going to be starting down here if I oriented this way. So I'm gonna leave it closed so that I can get quite a ways down this way and then zip it open. So again, this is technically this is up, and I'm just going to line everything up. I may have a little bit easier time if I open this a little bit, then I can at least get this. There we go. There. So now, again, just going to do 3/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I have both sides on. Couple steps. I need to just do a basting stitch along this edge, just to stitch these two pieces together so that they don't move when we do assembly later on. Also, I'm going to top stitch on both sides. I'm really learning my lesson with using my domestic for my top stitching too. I'm quite used to having my industrial here, or using it, and I promised you guys it wouldn't, so I'm sticking with that. But I have a ton of thread changes because I don't want all of my stuff done in top stitching thread, and because I have it doubled, I definitely don't want to be doing my seams with doubled thread on the top. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing next. So because of my thread changes issue, I'm not forced to do my top stitching right now, so I'm not going to. All I did was I did a basting stitch down both sides here, and now is when we're going to sew these together. Now this is the reason why, if you top stitch this full, it's fine. But this is what we're going to do. This is the reason why I suggested not doing it, is because now we're going to sew these together. And to me, there was no reason to top stitch or top stitching. So that's all I'm going to do is the angled edges line up. And I'm going to clip these and just sew at a 1/8 inch seam allowance. So once we have these seams sewn, so we've got these sewn together, this is what we end up with, okay? So the idea of it is that when we open this up, well, this will be sewn in, that's the start of our inside pocket. So things are starting to take shape. And there we have that.